Hi, welcome to Stories at Night. Today's episode is dedicated to all you young adults out there who love a good scare. So turn off your lights, grab a blanket, and get ready for a tale of horror that will send shivers down your spine. The first time Daniel heard the whispers, he thought it was the wind. The cornfields around his new farmhouse stretched for miles, endless waves of dry, whispering stalks. At night, when the wind blew across them, they made a sound like voices breathing secrets. Daniel told himself that it's all it was, just wind and imagination. After all, he'd bought the place to get away from the noise. The city had been suffocating him, but that first night, the whispered formed words. Daniel. He sat up in bed, heart pounding. The room was dark except for the faint glow of the moon spilling through the curtains. He listened. The sound came again, carrying on the night air through the half-open window. Daniel, come see. He shut the window and locked it tight. By morning, he told himself he dreamed the whole thing. The next day was bright, almost cheerful. He explored the property, old barn, rusted tools. A scarecrow slouched at the edge of the corn like a tired sentry. The ground was dry and cracked, though a patch of darker soil caught his attention near the fence line. He knelt and pressed a hand to it. Damp, freshly turned. Maybe the previous owner had buried something? When he asked the real estate agent about it later, she hesitated. Probably just an old well, she said too quickly. No one's used that land in years. But that night, the whispers came again, clearer this time. Dig, dig. Daniel tossed and turned, covering his ears, but the voices didn't stop. It was inside the walls, under the floorboards, even in the rhythm of his heartbeat. Dig, dig. You need to see. By dawn, he gave in. He took a shovel and walked out into the mist-covered field. The air was thick with the scent of damp earth. The patch of soil was darker than before, like something had bled into it overnight. He began to dig. 1 foot, 2 foot deep. The soil turned cold and clay-like. Then his shovel hit something solid. Wood. He cleared the dirt away to reveal the edge of an old wooden box, weathered and swollen with moisture. His stomach churned, but he pried the lid open anyway. Inside were bones, small ones, child-sized, and something else. A porcelain doll, half buried beside the remains, its face cracked, its eyes empty, staring upward. A lock of hair, real hair, was tied around his neck like a necklace. Daniel stumbled back, bile rising in his voice, in his throat. The whispers were louder now, a dozen voices overlapping. Thank you for finding us. He dropped the shovel and ran back to the house. He called the sheriff, but when the man arrived hours later, the hole was gone. Completely filled. The ground looked untouched. Must have been a bad dream, the sheriff said, but his eyes lingered too long on the cornfield. Don't go out there at night, he added quietly before leaving. That night, Daniel couldn't sleep. Every time he closed his eyes, he saw the doll's cracked face. Whispering started again, but this time it came from inside the house. He followed it, down the hall, barefoot, the floorboards creaking. It led him to the living room, to the window that overlooked the cornfield. The moonlight revealed something standing out there, tall and still, just beyond the first row of stalks. The scarecrow, but its head had turned towards the house, and its arms were no longer hanging limp. They were reaching out. Daniel rose. The whispers came from right behind his ear this time. A child's voice, wet and broken. She wants her face back. The next morning, a neighbor driving by saw Daniel's front door wide open. The house was silent, the bed untouched. They found him 3 days later in the cornfield, standing motionless beside the scarecrow, pale, expressionless, and covered in dirt from head to toe. When they tried to move him, his body crumbled into the soil like clay. And from that night on, the people in town swore they could hear whisperings rising from the fields whenever the wind blew, soft, pleading voices calling a single name, Daniel. Thank you for joining us on this very short episode. Stay tuned for more tales in the next episode of our podcast. And remember, when darkness falls, be careful who or what you let into your home. Good night and pleasant dreams.